Hi there. I think you will agree with me when I say social media is one of the most powerful tools that people use for numerous reasons. Self branding, for starters, for marketing purposes, but also social media is used as a coping mechanism if you are experiencing depression. I didn't know this. I only found out during my conversation with Dr. Lesedi Kgatla, who joins me today as my guest speaker. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Dr. Kgatla, great to have you on the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm nervous. How are you?
Why are you nervous? It's a safe space. You are talking to me. I'm the craziest person you could ever engage in this world. So feel free, please.
Thank you.
Uh, I'm gonna call you Lesedi. Said earlier I can address you as Lesedi. Your research is mainly around depression, and in front of me I have this article which talks about depression among Black people, but also you are talking about your journey as a researcher in studying depression on Black people. You also reflect on your own experiences. And one must acknowledge that this is a beautiful piece of writing. I wish everybody, in fact, if you consent, I'm going to share this when I drop this recording. I'm going to share it as part of the bio. If you're
Thank
comfortable
you.
with that, you can just give me a thumbs up. So, I
Definitely.
guess the first question for me, you talk a lot about how you found yourself in a depressive state without really knowing that that's where you were. Perhaps if you could just share with me what were the indicators that led you to the conclusion that you were experiencing depression?
Okay, so at the time, I did not know what it was. I didn't even know there is a word depression and what it meant. I just found myself in, well, now I can say that they were a depressive state at the time, but I'll find myself, I'll wake up in a good mood, happy, and then after a while my mood will just decline for no reason. I wouldn't even understand it. And I would feel emotion so intensely that I would even question it myself that like a normal person, lack of a better word, a normal person wouldn't feel those emotions so intensely as I did. And it was after a while that this lady from I was following on Facebook, she posted about mental health, depression, and she started explaining what it is and so forth. And first, I remember thinking to myself, yo, this lady loves attention because she also had depression and she would post about experiences and
Mm.
how sometimes she'll be happy in the morning, she'll post how happy and blessed she is, and then later on she is not okay. Sometimes she'll be admitted to hospital, and I'll be like, I man, this lady, no. And the irony was left lost on me because those were the same feelings I was feeling. So it was after she posted about depression, then I went to her and I was like, I asked her questions about depression, what it meant, what it is, and so forth. And we had
Mm.
a lengthy conversation. And she was like, look, I'm not a professional, but you seem to be in a space that I was in before I got diagnosed with depression. I'm not saying that you have it, but please see a therapist. And then that's when I went to a therapist at UJ.
Hmm. I saw that part where you're talking about this lady, and in my mind, what came was we often come across such people on social media, and we think to ourselves, indeed, they are attention seekers. But then one really never knows nowadays. There are people who are seriously attention seekers, but then you get people like this lady, and you articulate this beautifully in the article to say that when after engaging her, it's a series of emotions, if I may. The episodes differ. I guess it depends on time and space. But then
Yeah.
before I go to that lady, I still want us to make reference to her as we continue the conversation. I want to know then, why did you focus on depression if it's something that sort of like gives you, I don't want to say challenge, but you get my gist. Why focus on depression if it's something that could be a trigger for you?
So in 2017, so all that happened in early 2017. And I remember there was a story in Braamfontein, Johannesburg, where this lady committed suicide. So at first, she committed suicide before, and she did the second time she attempted, people were like, "No, she's just seeking attention. She's done this before," and they were encouraging her to jump,
Yeah.
and she eventually did. And that's when I realized also when I started doing my master's, because my master's was also on depression.
Yeah.
I was talking to uh, lecturers and my peers at school about depression. Most of them were Black people, and I
Mm.
would get the stereotypical comments from them, like those people are attention seekers, or if maybe they'll ask how my study's going, they'll be like, "How is it going? Namahlanya akho?" And those kind of things, and that it led to
For
me
sure.
realizing that yes, a lot of Black people do not acknowledge depression and they don't think it exists within the Black community. And because it's something that I relate and I resonated with, I wanted to focus on that because I feel like it's also important when you're doing your MA, your PhD, your studies. I think if your research interest is something that is it can be personal to you, but it's something that you're really interested in, it'll also help you in your studies. You will enjoy your studies. As much as it was a trigger, I took it as well as a challenge, and also to create mental health and awareness within the medium or the measures that I have, and which is academia for me. So I wanted to focus on something that I really am interested in, invested in, so that, you know, I can also enjoy my journey. As much as, yes, it can be triggering, I enjoy it because it's something that I really want to create awareness about depression or mental health within the Black community, for people to understand that it does exist within the Black community. And it should not be that when you have depression, then you're like, "It's a Black person, like, really?" Because I've had
Mm.
comments like that where people are like, "Really, you have depression? But really, are you sure?" So, yeah. So it was important for me as well.
Mm. I guess what is hard is distinguish between sadness and depression, because this is another thing that you raise in the paper, that you, for the longest of times, you thought you were just sad, but only to find that you'd later be diagnosed with depression. I guess what is a bit of a challenge is to know really whether you are sad or you are going through this. I refer to it as a mental health disorder because that's what my previous guests referred to it as, or whether you are experiencing this form of mental health disorder. I want to quote something from the article. There's a line that says, "I identify as a young Black woman experiencing depression and a recipient of stereotypes and stigma when sharing my experiences with depression." Can you unpack this for me, please? What examples could you say relate to this?
So, so as I said, I did receive a lot of. Okay, so firstly, when I went to the therapy, the psychologist, and then we spoke about it and we went through it, and they did say you do exhibit symptoms of depression, you do have depression, but there was no formal diagnosis.
Mm,
And I, before I could get diagnosed, I left therapy because I did not want to be diagnosed officially. So
mm,
I just wanted to put the name to whatever it is that I was feeling, because it's very confusing when you're going through something. Because I know a lot of people say labels are not good, and yes, they're not good to a certain extent. For certain things, you need a label, you need a name so that you know how to deal with it. So I just wanted to know what was going on with me, and then I left the space and I was like, I'll figure it out on my own because I don't want to be medicated. So after that, and so the psychologist also suggested, because I told her that I'd not tell anyone, nobody knows that I have depression, not my family, not my friends. And she suggested that I at least talk to one person that I trust, so then they at least know what's going on with me.
mm.
And I remember I told my cousin, and to her it was like, "Oh, okay." So it wasn't that much of a big deal. There were no follow-up questions or anything. It was like, "Ah, okay." I was like, "Oh, okay, no, maybe I need to tell somebody that can actually listen and understand." And I told my brother. And my brother, even though he also didn't understand it, he tried to understand it. He asked me questions as he wanted to know why I was feeling the way I was feeling, and then to try to make me feel better that, that is not your fault and so forth. And then then I started to open up to people that were close to me, like my friends, and that did not go well. I was told, "Are you sure you are depressed? Are you sure? Nah, man, there's no depression. It's all in your head. Are you sure it's not in your head? I mean, look
Mm,
at you. You going to school, but you're going to school and you're passing. So why are you depressed? Like, because I also come from a village, like where it's mostly people from poor backgrounds. So
mm,
if you have the opportunity to do something outside of that, you are doing well. So you're not expected to be depressed. Like, so it's like, why are you depressed? But there are a lot of people, like when you are out there, you are at school. So, nah, are you sure? Nah, you're not depressed. You don't look like you're depressed because there's a certain image people associate with depression. When you say depression, you cannot be looking good. You need to be uh scrap. I want to say scruffy, then I saw your name.
mm. I'm sorry. That's funny. You can please feel free. My name is Krufi, not Scruffy.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they don't expect you to be look well presented or maybe have some sort of success in your life because it doesn't go with the image that they have about depression. So I got those stereotypes that it's all in my head. I don't know what I'm talking about. Everyone gets sad. It's sadness. As you said, people associate depression with sadness.
Yeah.
So Anna, it's just sadness. And because they also don't know the source of depression, then it's like because they don't know the source of depression, if you are at a point where you have some form of success, either in their eyes or in your eyes, uh, you cannot be depressed because there is no source that should be causing you depression at that moment.
Mm. Do you think a change in environment can lead to depression?
The change in environment, yes, I believe it can. In my case, it was. Yes, I think it can because as much as it is the environment, it can also be you as a person. So, if maybe, for example, from where I'm from, the my being depressed was, I was depressed, but I was able to manage it. I don't know, maybe because at the time I didn't know where it was. I did not manage it well. And then I moved to live in Johannesburg and it got worse. And that's when, like, as people will say, like, your life is getting better. So why are you depressed? So environment can also be a factor, but also as an individual in a sense of what you are doing. So from where I was, as much as I recognized that I was not okay, I was not doing anything about it. So
Mm,
when I got to a better environment and I get to know more and understand more, that's when then it highlights itself even more. So environments can also, depending on where you are, it can either help you or it can make things worse for yourself, for you.
mm, mm. Well, there's a part here that says I came into the research process optimistic, assuming people experiencing depression would want to be more involved in correcting the false narrative about depression. I wanted to, okay, then you continue. How did you, how do you identify people when conducting research? How do you know that this one is experiencing this sort of mental disorder?
So for my PhD, I'll speak about my PhD.
Mm,
So for that, my participants, I looked for participants on social media. It was hard. It was very hard.
I would imagine.
So yeah, yeah. So what I did was I went to mainly Instagram. I'd go to Instagram and I would type hashtag depression or hashtag mental health. And
Oh,
I'll go
wow.
through the profiles, and there were like a lot of them. Because I was also looking for people that were South African as well. But it was not exclusive for South Africans, but I just wanted people from South Africa. So I went through the profiles, and I was also looking at people who use social media to cope with depression. So I would go to their profiles, and then I'll check what they post. And usually, if maybe they're mental health activists, they will write it in their bio.
Mm.
So that's how I found people. I'll go to Instagram or Twitter, but mostly I'd find them on Instagram. I'd search, I'd go through their social media, see what they post, if they are creating mental health awareness, and if they do, then I would contact them. And luckily, I found uh this lady. She's a mental health activist and a coach, and through her, she has a page on Instagram and other social media platforms. It's called Not Alone. And so through her, I found other people as well. And from my MA, I had met other participants, and some of them were mental health activists. And through them, I was also part of a virtual support group for people with depression. So I had also got people from there. So it helped me because I was already within a community of people with depression on social media. So it helped me to identify some of the people, and then I snowballed from there to get other participants.
Okay. Uh, there's a part that says, sorry, I'm just thinking about that entire process again. I just feel it's exhausting. I commend you for being able to. How many participants did you end up getting before I ask my next question?
I got 10 participants. I did 9. I got more than that, but others were not comfortable to be interviewed. So, but luckily for my PhD, my data collection was divided into two. So it was interviews and it was data that I collected on social media. So if they agreed to participate, I'll go through this obviously with their consent. I'll go through their social media page, I'll collect everything or anything relevant to the study, and then we would unpack it in the interview.
So the participants are also obtained from Instagram.
Yes, Instagram, Twitter, and yeah.
Wait, so you're saying you were looking at what are those balloons now? I don't know what that is. No, never mind. I just saw something popping on screen. It's like balloon. You are saying that you used Instagram to see the behaviors, if I may refer to them, of these people. And then you had participants that you interacted with. Did you identify these participants on Instagram and gotten consent for them to participate on Instagram?
Yes.
Yes.
So I got them on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Mm.
So I'll search for, as I said, hashtags to find
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that create mental, yeah. And then after identifying them, I will DM them to ask for them to
Okay.
participate. If they agreed, then I go through the social media pages, gather all information that I can, and then we do the interviews.
In the same statement, you mentioned that it was interesting for you that you encountered a lot of these people, these individuals that are experiencing depression, but instead of them contributing to the body of knowledge, participating in your research in this case, you found that they aren't willing to participate. What could be the reason for that?
So, yeah, so in one instance in particular, there's this lady on Instagram that I found. And at the time that I found her, she actually conducted a live on her Instagram where she was
Mm.
sharing about experiences with depression, and they would ask questions and then she would answer and so forth. And I was like, sure thing, I got my participant. And I think she's the first person that I got. I was like, nah,
Mm.
if she's doing interviews, then nah. And then I DM'd her and I explained the process to her and the what the study is about and so forth.
Mm.
At first she said yes. And then I proceeded to tell her that I will interview her. Obviously it was online and so forth. And then she was like, I know I'm not comfortable with doing this.
Mm.
And I did not get that. And I honestly did not understand that. It was after a while, after my interviews actually, that a lot
Mm.
of participants said the reason why they use social media, one of the reasons is because it allows them a sense of agency and a sense of
Mm.
control. So they feel like they're in control of their experiences with depression, the stories that they tell, and so forth. So I had to understand that because of that sense of control, even though she's doing lives on Instagram, she's the one in control of her story. She is the
Yeah.
one, she's volunteering information to people. And if maybe she does not want to answer a certain question, she won't. Or even because she creates mental health awareness, or beside the live she would post videos and so forth, but she's in control of everything in the in her space, in her social media space. And if she's being interviewed, it feels like she's relinquishing that control to somebody else, because she's now being the one being questioned. And I had to understand that it's different being sharing sharing your story is different than somebody sharing it for you, or maybe allowing somebody to take the lead in a way. So as much as yes, they are co-creators of knowledge and so forth, if you're the one telling your own story, is different from when you're being interviewed by somebody. So I think that was mainly the reason why some of them were like, no, I'm not comfortable with doing that. And I had to understand that. And it does make sense, because it's a space that they created for themselves on social media that they feel like it's safe. So relinquishing that control to somebody else can be a bit difficult and tricky for them.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I want to go back to that lady that you made reference of. Again, verbatim. The irony was lost on me. I assumed the societal stereotypical perception that such people were attention seekers on social media and are now somewhat annoying. It was after a few weeks she shared different mental illnesses she was experiencing and would dedicate each day of the week to explaining each mental illness. Among those was depression. Guilt. Many of us are guilty when it comes to this. We see a lot of people with fluctuating moods on social media, and we would easily say that they are attention seekers, not really knowing what it is that's going on. I would be
Mm.
carrying a bag from Zara today, and 2 hours later, I feel suicidal. What do we do in these instances? Let's say now, from a point of knowing that there is something such as, I'll refer to it as chronic depression. And then I see somebody behaving in a particular way. What do I then do at that realization?
Actually, one of the findings for my PhD was a lot of my participants, they would create mental health awareness, and part of that was they wanted to show that depression exists
Mm.
within Black communities. So what they did was like they wanted to show people in moments where they are depressed, either when their mood was very low, or maybe they are in a vulnerable state, like they are crying. They would want to record that so that they can show people that it does exist and this is what it looks like. And it's okay if you ever in this kind of state, it's okay, you're not alone. But to the next person, that can be seen as like, because when you're crying, you're expected, you mostly focus on what's hurting you and so forth. So people are questioning that in that moment, how did you then think of getting your phone and recording yourself while
Mm.
you're crying? So obviously they would question the authenticity of that,
Yeah.
if it's real or not, which is understandable because there's a lot of misinformation on social media. And what participants did was, in anything on social media, if you're going to use any information on social media, it's on you as an individual to ensure that you double check, you fact check. So if I come, even if it's me, and I come and I say, using coconut oil helps me to sleep at night when I'm depressed. You can't just take that, go do your own research. Somebody guided you somewhere. Do research to see if it fits, it can suit you. So as much as you can use social media to get information and psycho education, it's up to you. The responsibility lies with you as an individual to fact check. And that's also what my participants did, because they use social media a lot for psycho education on different things. And so they'll make sure that is there a source that I can go and check if this is true or not. So do not take everything on social media on face value. You obviously need to fact check, and also people that you follow. You don't just follow anyone. Just like Google them, search what they post, and so, because a lot of people will Vela post things that are not true for attention or for following. Even the participants were accused of attention seeking, or they putting on this image because they want to get sympathy so they can get more followers. And which is sad, because the problem is you can't really tell if someone is being real or if they're not. Hence I said you also have to do your own research, and I guess at the end also give people the benefit of the doubt. But you need to be careful, because I can come on social media and tell stories and lie and seem like I'm really depressed when I'm not.
Mm,
So it's hard to see or to find out who is real and who is not. But also maybe following pages, or because organizations like, let's say, DHG, they have social media pages, and the organization is real. So maybe finding such organizations, and maybe following, if maybe you're going to follow a psychologist, a therapist, you Google them first, such things, that you make sure that you don't just go on social media and take everything in.
mm. No, thank you for that. Um, let's come back to you now. This is a reflective paper. You mentioned in the same article that you receive quite a bit of questioning around you looking into mental health issues when you are actually a sociologist. Tell me about that.
So the reason why I also was interested in something that is usually seen from a psychologist's point of view was that in anything with mental health, psychology is privileged. People, when they say mental health, it's psychology, but then has been critiqued a lot, to say that there are alternative ways of understanding mental health, especially within the Black community. So my MA was on how Black South African youth understand and cope with depression. So from that, I got to understand that some Black people understand depression from an alternative ways that are different from the medical model. And that's not
Yeah.
to disregard psychology or the medical model on what they're doing or what they have done. It's just to say that there's more to it, and it should not just be looked at from the medical model point of view. So also that's the beauty of sociology. It allows you to have a multiple eye on things. So if you see a situation, you are able to look at it from different angles, not just from one direct angle. So I wanted to understand depression from the perspectives of people, because also in psychology, which is one of the points one of my participants made, is that with psychology, when you go to a psychologist office, maybe, and then you don't know maybe what's going on, to share experiences and so forth,
Mm,
within that relationship, the psychologist or the therapist takes the lead, and it's like it's between the doctor and the patient. They know more than you. You take direct orders from them, so you don't contribute. Sort of like you don't contribute anything to the process. So with sociology, you look at other social factors, and then you also recognize that patients can also be co-creators, where they can contribute something to the process. Maybe, like, for example, in the diagnosis process, they can be co-creators as well. They can share their experiences, because ultimately it's about them. As much as, yes, the psychologist knows more in their field, but then you also bring something to the table. So sociology allows that, to say, okay, we can see mental health from a psychological point of view, but there's these other alternative ways, especially with Black people, because Black people don't just take mental health as it is from the medical model. For example, for depression, they'll say some symptoms, they are similar to symptoms of or signs of a person to become a healer. a sangoma. So to them, that is different. So that needs to also be taken into consideration when thinking about mental health. And I think that will also help people to understand mental health or depression, to be precise, more if their own perceptions are taken into account, and you just don't go to them and say, nah, the psychologists say this and this and this and this and that.
This is very interesting for me. So, what are the symptoms that are similar to those that sangomas have? I don't know much about sangomas, but I find this point very interesting.
Yeah. So I also don't know much about sangomas, but like, so there's certain behaviors where they would say but then I think also it goes with your own beliefs. So if I believe in maybe, let's say I don't believe in traditional medicine and so forth, I only believe in the Western medication. So if I someone presents with symptoms or signs such as maybe low energy, you forever want to sleep, or you have headaches, you don't want to talk, you always isolating yourself and all those, based on your beliefs. If I believe in traditional if I have traditional beliefs, it will be easy for me to say it's like unale una usenza atwase, they have a calling. But if I'm not a person who believes in traditional beliefs and I believe in medical model, I'll recognize those as symptoms of depression. So
Um,
I think that's where the problem lies, is that because based on beliefs, it depends on your beliefs where you would go, if whether they would take you this side or that side.
I wonder, I know your research might not have gone the other direction, but I wonder if, say, for instance, one takes the route of being a sangoma, uh, if they take that route, I wonder if they get assisted. Does that then eventually fall away, or they continue experiencing all these symptoms and whatnot?
Mhm.
Because
That's
clinically, I know they would find assistance.
yeah, true. That's also, yeah, my research did not go that direction, but I did wonder, do also, because there are certain also some sangomas who are away and they acknowledge the medical model, they acknowledge the mental health from the
Mm.
medical model perspective. So I've often wondered, if somebody comes to them, do they do they take that into account, that no, we can see that these signs can be that they have a calling, but no, I don't think they do have a calling. Maybe they would refer them to a professional, like a professional medical person.
Mm.
But yeah, I think maybe, as I said, based on your beliefs, if as a sangoma, then you are open minded, maybe you can say, no, I know you have these signs, but I think you should go to a doctor.
Mm.
But then if you're someone that is well versed in traditional medicine and all that, and you believe 100% that, I don't know. I don't
Mm.
know. I
Well,
think that's why a lot of
I
people,
guess
yeah,
I guess that leaves you with more room to expand your research, to look into it.
yeah.
I see this is an opportunity for you.
Mhm.
Do the words "God make me normal" sound familiar to you?
Yes.
Tell me
Yes,
about
yes.
that.
So when I was often in a depressive state before I knew that I was depressed. As I said, I would feel emotions so intensely and different. I would also observe other people, and then to me it was like, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? I don't understand. And so what helped me at the time was praying. I would pray that, God, please make me normal. Because to me, that was not normal. To me, that was not okay, because I would look at other people, maybe who went through the same thing I went through. But then the emotions, they are able to regulate their emotions and be okay. But then for me, it was different, and I couldn't understand that. To me, that registered as not normal. You are not normal. So, or you fall outside the box of normalcy, which is what also my participants would say that we are trying to get rid of the word normal, because there is no normal, you know, because that's where the problem is. That the minute you feel different, you're not normal. It creates even more confusion than what it's worth, because now you're thinking, I'm feeling this way, and then again, I'm not normal at the same time. So I found myself in that space where I would continuously pray that, please
mm,
make me normal, because I don't understand what this is. And because I didn't understand it, I couldn't also talk about it to anybody. Because what do I say? Because I don't even understand it. And it's something that is not normal. How will the other person look at me or feel about it?
mm. And when you eventually started speaking out, uh, did you get assertions like you have white people's diseases?
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely I did. I remember this one friend of mine, he was like to me, "Hi, Lesedi, lerato e dira makgowa, wa itse." It's like, what? So basically saying like, we like acting like white people because
Mm,
of you saying that you're experiencing depression. And
yeah.
even and which is what is said is that, unfortunately, for most people, including myself, you
Mm,
don't fully understand depression until you go through it.
yeah.
And I've had people in my life that I've spoken to about my experiences, maybe like two, three people that I spoke to about my experiences. And they were like, no, there's no way. No, there's no such a thing. Especially as I said before, that the source of it is where people find difficulty. Because if you say that it can actually come, it can either come from an event that happened in your life, and which led to you being depressed and you've never healed, then it continues, or you were
Mm,
born with it. And that's where it's like, I know there's no such a thing. So it's very
mm,
difficult for people to really believe that is there because of the source. And
mm.
yeah, so I've had instances where people like, no, until they actually went through it and they came back and were like, oh, okay, now we understand what you were talking about. We get it.
Mm. I guess it's a relief for you too when people finally say, we at least get an idea of what it is that you're going through, and we will be here to support you in some form or another. There's two lines from two different paragraphs. The first says, okay, da da da. It furthers the stereotypical perception because depression cannot be seen. After all, it is often associated with sadness, which is uncommon. And then in the second paragraph, you say, I came to understand that people often associated depression with sadness because at the end of the day, the person would say, I'm depressed, while they mean they are sad, tired, or they lack energy. Depression may present symptoms that are like those of a sad person. For instance, having low energy, not interested in doing an activity, constantly crying, and failing to get out of bed. Now, I often present these symptoms. This morning, I I felt some kind of lonely because I live alone. Many a times I don't even allow people in my space because I love to be on my own. But what I've realized is that that pushes me to a point of loneliness for starters. I was very low in energy. I wasn't particularly sad, but some days I do feel somewhat sad. And I wonder if that should be a cause for concern. Would you advise me to go and get some sort of advice on this? Do you think it could border on depression?
Okay, firstly, as much as yes, I research depression, I'm not a therapist psychologist, just to put it out there.
Of course.
So it'll just be my personal opinion. So
Yeah.
yes, depression is mostly associated with sadness. As I said, at the end of the day, a person will be like, I had a hard day, yo, I have depression, I have
Yeah.
depression. And so it is often used loosely, and it that is why it sort of lost meaning to people
Mm,
to say it's something that is serious. And yes, I do understand those symptoms of depression. can actually occur in someone who does not have depression. And that's where they say that's when you go to a psychologist, they often also ask you how often that occurs,
Mm.
and the scenario, how it came about, and so forth. So if it's something that is constant, that happens consistently, then
Yeah.
that's when you start to worry, so you can understand, as you identify that in the morning you are not feeling okay. You identify that the reasons that you live alone, and because of that, sometimes it pushes you to be in a lower mood, right?
Mm.
So if it gets to a point where it is consistent and it goes on, time and again, time consistently, then that's when you have to worry about, and the extent of it as well, because sometimes when you have low energy, it's not just about low energy. For example, you can have low energy in a sense that your mood is low, right? You are sad and then you're low, and then there's a point where your mood is low to a point that the thought of me waking up and going to brush my teeth feels like a chore. Feels like I have I'm dragging, I don't know what, because I'm fighting with everything I have to just wake up and go brush my teeth. So also the extent of those symptoms, how deep they are, also plays a role in that as well. It's always good to talk to people, to talk to somebody about your feelings.
Definitely, definitely. And what do you make of people that always chase away other people? Now, generally speaking, what are your thoughts around that? What caused that? That constant yearning of being alone, but also knowing that the corollary to that is you feeling isolated after a certain period.
So, so with me, it's different because I genuinely love being alone. Like, even my friend Sebo will tell you, like, he understands me. Sometimes you call me and be like, friend, can I come to your place? And I'll be like, nah, I want to be alone. I don't want anybody. And I would genuinely mean it. I don't like going anywhere. I love my space. I love being alone. I can literally stay in my room the whole day and I will not be bored, and I enjoy
Hmm.
it. And I know it's a concept that is difficult for some people to understand, especially extroverted people. They'll be because they feel like if you're not out there exploring, you're not having fun, or you're not happy, or in it just goes with personalities. Sometimes
Yeah.
being like I was telling my friends that they were saying that you cannot go to maybe like Cape Town and stay in your hotel the entire time. Why did you go? And I say I would literally book myself a hotel, stay there the whole weekend, and not go outside. I'll even buy food, come with food inside the hotel, so that I don't leave the room for the whole weekend, and that would be fun for me. So I think it goes
Yo,
with personalities.
you and I are cut from the same cloth. I'm exactly the same. But what I've learned in the recent past is that whenever I go to a new place, I just need to go and explore. It's so liberating. I wish you could get
Mm.
to a point where you say, when I'm in Durban, I'm going to go to Umhlanga and I'm going to experience what people from Umhlanga live on their day on their daily basis. Uh, Same as Cape Town or any other place. I wish you could challenge yourself to do that, and it
No,
also
that
gives
I
one a different perspective
mm.
about life in general.
Yeah, that I do. Because also they don't understand that I can actually go to a restaurant by myself. I remember I used to post like solo days, and I'll be in the restaurant and people will be like, "Are you alone? You're eating alone?" And I'm like, "Yes. What is the big deal?" So if I do go outside and I experience other cultures and so forth. And the thing is, I can enjoy it with my friends, with families, but I can genuinely also enjoy it alone. It's
Mm,
not a bad thing. Yeah.
mm. Uh, I wonder, and I speak because I ask this because I feel like it's closer to home. Don't you feel like when it comes to intimate relationships, that could be some sort of a barrier for you?
Yeah, it can. But I also I learned that when you're in a relationship, right, you need to also, it's not just about you, it's about the other person as well.
Definitely.
And there needs to be a sense of respect. And as people on social media love to say, they love languages. So
Mm,
you love a person according to their love languages and
mm,
not just yours, right?
mm.
So if maybe I'm in a relationship with somebody and they love being outside and doing all the, I'll do those things with them. But at the same time, they also need to respect that sometimes I don't want to do anything. So as long as there
Yeah,
is a balance, then it's fine. So as much as I'm closed off, I like living alone. If
yeah.
we are in a relationship and you enjoy doing outdoorsy things, I'll do it with you. Even if I'm bored, I'll just do it.
Hmm. Interesting. You stretch yourself there. I know exactly what that takes. Um,
Yeah.
and maybe as we wrap up this conversation, you mentioned that there are some biological symptoms of depression. I've never heard of such. What does this mean? What kind of symptoms are these?
So the biological part, what I mean is when they speak about chemical imbalances, that's when they say that like the chemical imbalances, I don't want to butcher it, but then you have chemical which are you they were not caused by anything particularly, because depression you can either have get it from those chemical imbalances, which is a biological problem that you were born with, or it can come from an a life event, maybe the death of a loved one, and then you get depressed. And then sometimes they say after being depressed, there are certain things that don't go back to normal after having such a stressful event in your life. They don't get go back to normal, and then that's when the depression does not become seasonal, and then now you experience it for it might be forever. So
Hmm.
it might be that those chemical imbalances that you're born with, or it might be after you've experienced something that things don't go back to normal.
I didn't know that one could be born presenting signs of depression.
Mm,
I didn't know that it could be a hereditary
yeah.
genealogical thing, whatever the terms. Uh, I'm gonna look this up because I'm really interested in learning
Mm.
more about it. But maybe now, as I conclude, you speak about having conversations with young people around the topic of depression. What have you found interesting in your conversations?
So the what I found most interesting is how people don't believe in like mental, like you can have mental issues. So as I
Mm,
say in the paper, that it's easy for people to believe that someone was not born with you, like your arm, or people that sorry, I forgot the name, but you know those people conjoined, forgot the word,
mm.
where
Yeah,
people
yeah.
are joined together. Yes. So as I said, that people have the there's a normalcy box to say person is supposed to look like this. You're supposed to have one head, two arms, two legs, and so forth. But then there have been uh, visible evidence that people can be born outside of that box, and maybe that's also why the question of normalcy, the normalcy concept should be questioned, to say what is normal, because whatever that they created to say that this is normal, there have been instances where that has been defied. So what is interesting to me is people can believe and see, because they see it obviously, that they can see that a person can be born with no arm, or two heads, and so forth and so forth. But it's so difficult for them to believe that the brain can be affected as well. Because
Mm,
if your body can be like the body biology can be defined where your body is born differently to what is recognized as normal, why is it so hard for you to believe then that the mind can also be affected?
yeah.
Because it's also biology, right? It also has to also, you as people, we are born with different IQs, right? the mind is not different from the body. We also, you can be different, the body can be different. Why it's so difficult that people can understand that the mind can also be affected, where it does not function in the way that is expected to, in a way.
Mhm. And who's suffering more from depression? Would you say it's the younger generation or the older generation?
Um, I think, especially with social media, I would say the younger generation, because, but I don't have the stats on that. Maybe
Yeah.
both, I don't know. But why I say young people is because now with social media, you have an eye into people's life, and a lot of people's eyes. So it was different before. When I am from my village, yes, I would have access to TV and I would see those people, but in my immediate circle, my peers, maybe I wouldn't see as many people, especially if maybe like you're coming from villages where it's just people around you, and then you see, then yes, you might maybe feel pressured by your peers and so forth, but then when you see it on social media, and it's on a big spectrum, that it affects a lot of young people a lot. And it affects, and social media is a significant part of young people's life. Our lives is on social media, everything now is on social media. So this, you start comparing yourself to other people, and then you know what you also have accomplished now does not seem as so much of a big deal when you go on social media and you see your peers driving a Porsche, and you bought like you bought quid, and then you're gonna feel like that is not an accomplishment, forgetting where you're coming from, because journeys are not the same and so forth. So young people definitely, because mostly because of social media, because we are always, and sometimes also maybe other people are strong enough to not feel the pressures of the world of social media and so forth. Other people, it's difficult to not do so. Maybe you might be like, "Oh, yeah, no," and then you go post on social media, and then the comments just tears you apart, because you might also not do it, but because of the comments, you get to a point where you also start questioning yourself. Then it
Mm,
just becomes a whole thing.
mm. Sorry, you got me thinking there. Do you think social media can be used as a source of inspiration and not necessarily negatively, as you put there? I'm just thinking about myself. Whenever I see something good on social media, I immediately get inspired. I haven't, maybe I still am going to get to a point where I'm like, oh shucks, this one has a Mercedes or a triple story house, but we are the same age, so I want to go for that. I've never at any point felt like that. I wonder if it's possible for people to change their perception around what they see on social media and use it positively. Do you think it's possible to cultivate that at an individual level?
Yes, I think it's definitely possible. As I said, my PhD was on how young people use, how and why young people use social media to cope with depression, and part of it is that you it depends on you as an individual. You create a space for yourself on social media, and what you allow in it depends on you. Whether it's positive or negative, it depends on you. And so what happens is, if maybe you feel like and it doesn't have to come from a place of jealousy or anything. But then if maybe I'm following you, and maybe you're doing better than me, and I feel pressured, and I can mute you, not in a bad way that I'm jealous of you or
That's so
anything, but
evil.
maybe not like block you, but like maybe mute your statuses. I'll be like, Dr. Scruffy is somewhere in Cape Town. I don't want to see that. And I can just mute you so that it does not affect me. That not from a place of jealousy, but from avoiding me going into a spiral, comparing myself to you, and so forth and so forth. So I think on social media, it depends on you as an individual. Social media can be toxic. It can be very toxic. And what my participant told me is that how you use it and how it affects you and your mental health depends depends on you as an individual. It's your responsibility. Don't follow people that you don't need to be following. If certain things make you mad or they affect you negatively, cut them out of your social media page. If you don't want to follow certain things, you cut it. So I remember also during COVID, especially in the beginning where it was really bad, I stopped watching the news. I was like, I'm not going to go to the news. And I also deleted my Twitter. I was like, I'm
I
not going
think
to
we
go
all
there.
got to that point
Yeah,
during
I
COVID.
was like, yeah, I'm not gonna go there. I'm just gonna go to TikTok and laugh there. And then just so my life is just, I don't stress myself that much. So how you use social media, it really depends on you. And cultivate a space for yourself that is very positive and safe for yourself. Because and at the end of the day, people and you need to do the work on yourself as well and understand that our journeys are not the same, and whether the other person has this and that is not going to affect what's for you is for
Mm.
you, and it's going to come either way. It's the other person, it has nothing to do with the next person. And if you can internalize that, and if you can understand that and you pray on that, then you'll be okay. But I
Dr.
do think that
Khatla?
mm,
No, no. You can finish off your statement.
No, I was saying that I think as much as social media can be a toxic place, you need to work on yourself as an individual before even bringing in social media.
Thank you so much for this insightful conversation. I appreciate your wisdom. You've shared quite much, and I've read this piece of work. It fell on the floor as I was talking. Such a beautiful, beautiful article. I couldn't get enough of it, and I made a gazillion notes as if I was doing a literature review myself. Uh, with
I
that
saw the
said,
notes first when you showed it. I was like, "You, hi, it's going down."
thanks to you, I had to miss my gym session. That's how
Sorry.
much I enjoyed this piece of work. With that said, Dr. Khatla, I thank you very much, and I hope to see you sometime in the future because I believe you still have a lot more to offer on the subject.